Welcome back, everyone, to the Late Night Review. And tonight I'm going to ask the question, can or should a Christian watch horror movies? And I will inevitably answer that question. I'm a Christian, I'm a believer, and I will definitely explain and I will answer that question soon. Let me start off by saying this. I've seen a lot of horror movies and I've reviewed some of them on this channel, and those are interesting, those videos. I enjoyed making them. I have a lot of nostalgia for those movies, and I thought that they were very entertaining, very interesting. Certain scenes of those movies are very disturbing, and certain scenes I actually don't like, but sat through it. The stories were good to me. Some of the characters were really fascinating. Can a Christian watch horror movies, or should they? Either question, I'll answer it. I would say when you read the Bible, and as a Christian, I've read the Bible multiple times, when you read the stories in there, let's say you took all the characters, and to me, this question's an easy question to answer. It's one I've answered in my private life quite a few times and rather easily too. If you look at all the stories in the Bible, whether you believe in the stories or not, if you look all the stories of the exorcisms, stories of the violence, the sexual immorality, the flood before, the flood that God used to destroy the wicked in the times of Noah. If you look at the whole story of Noah and the ark, if you look at Sodom and Gomorrah, if you look at the exorcisms performed in the book of Acts, exorcisms performed by Jesus, and if you put it all into a movie and just showed all things kind of bare as they really were, you probably have one of the scariest movies ever made, one of the most horrifying movies ever made, but you'd have something that I really appreciate, and that is that message of hope, message of justice. You have a message of goodness mixed in there with that. But if you took all the exorcisms in the Bible and put them all into a movie and made a movie out of it, you'd have one of the scariest movies ever. Whether it was in the horror section or the religious section, it would be a scary movie. So you'd be watching a scary movie. The fact is, history it's real. It's definitely real, but it's similar to a movie. It's similar to a movie. And a lot of people, like, there's been a debate between Calvinists and Arminians for centuries. How much does God actually intervene? What's meant to be? What's not? I think the whole debate's fascinating, and I've seen hundreds of them in my life, and I've seen many of them on YouTube. Most of them are on YouTube. And I think the whole debate is fascinating. And it gets back to the question, should Christians watch horror movies? It's very relevant because just as there are stories, there's film, depends on what medium you're talking about. There's film, there's the written word, there's stories, verbal, written, film, visual. You have good, you have evil, you have bad characters, you have good characters, you have plots. And history is filled with ugliness, it's filled with hopefulness, scariness, bloodiness, intrigue, truth, lies. It's the greatest movie ever made. And it's not a movie, but it's real. But it's the greatest story ever told, ever written. How much does God intervene? How much did he write? How much did he cause? How much did he stop? How much did he intervene? Those are questions that scholars have been debating for centuries. I think it's perfectly okay to watch horror movies if your motives are right. I watch horror movies not because I want to see innocent people killed and I enjoy that and I'm sadistic. No, I watch it because of story, characters, excitement, the plot, good versus evil. I like my stories to be good winning in the end. Most of the nightmare movies and most of the Friday the 13th movies or Halloween's, usually the good characters win in the end. And I like that. I like good endings. I like happy endings in my movies. So my motivation, good against evil. Good wins. The chase. Jason's an interesting character. Freddy's an interesting character. Michael's an interesting character. They're evil. They got to be stopped. They might be interesting, but they got to be stopped. And maybe leave the door open for a sequel because it's exciting. So it's a question, I think, that each person's going to have to answer the question themselves and decide whether they want to see the movie or not. It depends on, I think, your personality. It depends on your mentality. It depends on your motives. Everyone has to make that decision, to each his own. I respect that. For those who love horror movies, if you like horror movies, to each his own. I do like horror movies, but not just because they're horror movies. Like the story, I want to see if there's a good character, if there's another new icon that might be created, but I think they should always lose in the end to good. Some movies, some horror movies are better off with a dark ending, like The Omen or The Thing with Kurt Russell, how John Carpenter chose to end that. I think that was brilliant. The Omen 1, I think the way that ended was dark but appropriate, and I think it's one of the most interesting endings of any movie of all time. So it just depends on the film. It depends on what the story is trying to get across, what the characters have done, and what they will do if there's any sequels. I think it depends on, and there's a lot of variables there, but I think it's fine for a Christian to watch horror movies for the right reasons. I watch them. My example would be, okay, does this movie glorify this evil behavior, and do they try to send the message that it's right? I hate movies like that. I don't, whether it's about killing, whether it's about sexual violence, whether it's about whatever the topic is, if the behavior is bad and they're trying to say it's right, I'll be pissed. I'll be really pissed. I don't like that stuff. I do not like that stuff at all. But if it's look at Halloween. Let's take Halloween 1 and Nightmare 1 for an example. At the end, the killers are bested by a young lady or a doctor. Dr. Loomis comes up, shoots him. Laurie Strode fights him off until he gets there. Nancy Thompson turns her back on Freddy. He loses his power. So if good wins in the end, and you can get into the theological thing, you can see how things fit into the theology, your personal theology or whatever it is. But if good wins in the end and the evil character is defeated, even though the door was open in a way at the end of Nightmare 1 with, dragging Nancy Thompson's mother in through that little portion of the door. But I like Nightmare 1. I think it was really one of the all-time classic horror movies of all time. But usually the characters lose to someone good. And I like that. I like that. So I think it depends on your motivations. Remember, if it really bothers you and you're not sure, then don't watch it. Each person has their personality, each to their own. I like good horror movie. I don't like them all. I don't watch it for just, some people watch it for the kills. I watch it for the story. I can appreciate, though, the special effects and how good they are and the makeup and all that. I can appreciate that. But I don't watch it for the violence. I watch it for the interesting characters, the danger. One of the reasons I liked Friday the 13th, that series, so much is because of the forest. And usually someone good at the end won. Usually the bad person or monster or whatever it is, this fiend, gets defeated at the end. So it's a decision you're going to have to make yourself, but I think it's perfectly okay for someone of faith to watch a movie for the right motivations, if you have the right motivations, I should say. So to me, it's a good and evil thing. If the good character wins in the end, as long as they're not presenting, especially, like, I'll say this, the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street, I did not like it. I did not like it because they made Freddy more sick and twisted than he used to be. They focused on the pedophilia angle. I didn't like that at all. It really turned me off. I couldn't really have a good time watching it anymore. I just wanted Bronson or Clint Eastwood to go in there and solve the problem. I've said this before in other reviews, and have a nightmare gun where they can take Freddy out or whatever. So if good wins in the end, I like that. And if the character is intriguing, fascinating, I mean, if it's a character that's really sick, like in the new night, the remake, I should say, and New Nightmare is one of my favorite movies of all time. That's a different film, but the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street, they focused on that angle in there and made Freddy more of a sick pervert, creepy, rather than the fairy tale monster, a Grimm's fairy tale monster that was so fascinating, interesting. He's around the alley, the sewer, behind the tree with the hat. And, it was fun. You can have a good time. But when they made it too disturbing, too sick, that's when you turned me off. Not to every certain movies, it's necessary for them to be disturbing in certain ways, just as long as they portray it as bad. But if they start portraying it as good, I don't like that. I really don't like that. There was a movie with Michael Douglas, Fatal Attraction. It's not a horror movie, but certain parts could have been scary. And there was a movie called Damage with Jeremy Irons. Two great movies, both disturbing topics, especially the movie Damage with Jeremy Irons. Very sick and disturbing topic, but they portrayed it as wrong. So I think it was a very well done movie, very well acted, and I'd seen it numerous times with Jeremy Irons. And it was a very well done movie, but the topic is disgusting. You have a father who's sleeping with his own son's wife, and that's disgusting. That's awful. But the movie portrayed it as awful. It portrayed it as bad. Now, if they would have portrayed it as good, just like some horror movies might portray some disgusting behavior as good, then I'm against that. I don't want to watch that kind of thing. But if it's like Halloween or Nightmare, and then the bad guy loses in the end, and it's good against evil, you have an enchanted dream, and the trees and everything and the art direction, I'm fine with that. So I think it's perfectly okay. So each person's going to have to make their decision. I thought I'd make this video to put my 2 cents in, and whatever it's worth, be it as it may, whatever it's worth, it's worth. But that's what I think. I think it is fine for Christians to watch horror movies with the right motivations, the right train of thought, and as long as good wins in the end. Although, like I said, with The Thing or The Omen, sometimes that dark ending, it's fine. It's perfect. Sometimes it's brilliant, like in those movies. So you'll have to make that decision on your own. But to me, the answer is yes, under certain circumstances. And I do, and I enjoy certain movies. I've reviewed them on the channel. And that's my 2 cents, everybody. This has been the Late Night Review. Please like and subscribe, share this video, and let people know about the channel, would you? So more people can see it and enjoy the videos. Thank you very much, and good night.